I actually came across this video in my recommended feed not too long ago, and this kind of piqued my interest. I want to react to this video called Gacha Games Have Terrible Gameplay by Tsunul. Apparently, he puts out some banger videos from time to time. Oh, Tsunul pulls up an FGO servant chart. Does Tsunul actually, has he played FGO, or does he play FGO? Kind of a bold move to pull up FGO in the first minute of a video titled Gacha Games Have Terrible Gameplay. That's quite the power move there. First of all, what the fuck is this team? I know he's doing the Fergus advanced quest because I just did this last. I was just recording this for gameplay's sake, so not gonna be too harsh on him there. I was about to like microanalyze his card selection here, and then I realized, wait a minute, what the fuck are these? What the fuck are these servants? Why do you have an arts character, a quick character, and a fucking buster character all on the same team? Are you fucking kidding me? Any FGO team can be excused if it's for bond. Yeah, but this is not a bond grinding node, 420. This is an advanced quest, so this isn't a bond farming team. Here's the thing I'll say about Tsunul's take on his FGO example. Because so far throughout the video, the reason why I was pretty quiet throughout the video is because he didn't say anything that I felt the need to like elaborate on or like argue against or even elaborate on. However, it is true that Castoria did make the game a lot easier. But if we're gonna be honest, Castoria wasn't the first one. I think she may have been the most impactful one. He should have gone even further back with Scotty first. I mean, instead of just Castoria, he should have mentioned Scotty, Castoria, fucking Oberon. Like, why did he pick on fucking Castoria when Oberon exists? Surprised he didn't bring up, like, fucking Oberon, of all people. Because, like, Castoria makes challenge quests, a lot fucking easier. I don't want to call it a fucking cakewalk, because unlike most other gacha games, FGO actually has some mechanics that you better fucking know. I don't know if Tsunul... I don't know how much of FGO Tsunul knows. I mean, just judging off this fucking team here, I can't imagine he knows that he knows that much. But let me not be so judgmental here. I think FGO is not a great example to use here, even if it technically fits what he's trying to talk about. The game will still throw challenge quests at you where the game doesn't give a shit how many fucking broken-ass characters you bring. You can bring Oberon, you can bring Castoria, you can bring fucking KOL. If you don't know what you're doing, you're fucked. And honestly, I could say the same thing about Arknights too. I still occasionally have trouble with certain maps where it's like, oh damn, I'm getting my ass kicked. And it's because I don't know the mechanics. I've played enough of Arknights to know that sometimes there are some nodes where the game's just like, ha, you brought Weezadil. Fucking brain-dead players like me who usually rely on just, you know, brute-forcing my dick through the fucking node. All of a sudden, that doesn't work. And I'm just kind of sitting here scratching my head like, brute-forcing that doesn't work. I wonder what I should do. Now, to be fair, those kinds of fights are few and far between. Unless you're talking about, like, FGO's advanced quests, I guess. Then again, once you've played enough gacha, this is kind of what you have to expect. If you're not happy with how gacha gameplay evolves over time, then I'm sorry, but gacha games are not for you. Like, I don't know how else to say that. And I don't know how else to say it without coming off as a fucking asshole. But eventually, you should reach a point where, you know, you have all the top, not all, but you have a couple of top tiers in the game who just fucking trivialize like 9% of the game for you, and the other 10% you could probably just look up how to do it, because you already have all the tools to do so. So now it's just a matter of, oh, you just have to figure out how to do it. So like, if you're not prepared to accept that as like a reality of gacha endgame, I'm sorry, but you should probably quit gacha games. Like, don't even wait. Like if you don't like that kind of experience, if you don't like that kind of account progression, like, I'm sorry, but save yourself the trouble. Like, save yourself the time. Don't play gacha games. So far, Tsunul's just, you know, he's saying he hasn't said anything that would raise my eyebrow at. I mean, I'm raising my eyebrow whatever the fuck this team is that I'm looking at. But other than that, so far the video's been pretty solid. One of the most important things you have to understand about gacha games is that your progression is tied to the characters, a big part of it. Because it's a gacha. Gachas make their money selling characters. So it's like, of course, your account progression is going to be tied to the characters in a big way. Normal games, because they're not gacha games, they don't try to sell their gameplay to you based on the characters. It's from the gameplay itself. Obviously, the feeling of like gameplay progression in normal games and gacha games was always going to feel very, very different. Stygian Onslaught fixes it. This video was out 4 weeks ago, right? We had Stygian Onslaught in the previous, in Genshin's last patch too, right? From what I'm hearing, Stygian Onslaught actually forces players to actually fucking learn the mechanics. I don't know how long Tsunul's been playing gacha games for, but hey Tsunul, welcome to gacha games. The characters are literally everything about gacha games. If you are not playing gacha games for the characters, why the fuck are you playing them in the first place? Like, nothing Tsunul is saying here is wrong, per se. Actually, I forget who it was in YouTube chat who, was like, this video is kind of reminds them of, Taboro's video and his, on Enfield and shit like that. It sounds like Tsunul came from a normal game background. And then made his way into gacha games. Don't know if he's a fucking maniac like Psyche, where he started with Genshin, but then he went back to play older gacha games. But if he did in fact do that, then, you know, credit where credit is due. So for now, I'm assuming that he's been playing gacha games for a while. But if he's been playing gacha games for a while, he talks as if he doesn't. Or he talks as if he hasn't. Like, oh, like, wow, it's like gacha games are so focused on their characters. You have to roll for characters to deal with gameplay mechanics that you see in gacha games. That's like, and I'm just sitting here listening to this. I'm like, bruh, you play FGO. Should you not have known this already? Like, why is Tsunul here acting like this is some sort of like fucking revelation here? Like, am I crazy for thinking that Tsunul kind of sounds like this? Maybe I'm just being a bit too, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Not pessimistic. Cynical, yeah, cynical is the word that I was looking for. Maybe I'm just being too cynical about it. Oh my god, gacha games need to rely on characters to help you deal with certain mechanics, and if you don't have those characters, then you might be kind of fucked. It's like, bro, welcome to gacha games. How long have you been playing them for? Doesn't he slightly remind you of Taboro? Maybe not of Taboro specifically, but like their vibes are similar. Their vibes are pretty similar, I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking that Tsunul came from a normal game background, and then he got into gacha games through, like, I don't know, Genshin Impact or something. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's been around gacha games for quite some time. I'm just kind of curious to know how long he's been playing gacha games for. Everything he's saying is like, yeah, there's nothing for me to really elaborate on. These are basically everything he said is basically shit that I would have said too. When I'm explaining how gacha games work to like somebody who's never played gacha games before. It's just that I'm just surprised by his tone. Coming from somebody like Tsunul, who plays FGO and plays Arknights of all games? Huh. A lot of gacha games have like color weakness wheel. Yeah, like this like some sort of like rock, paper, scissors system, right? Yeah. FGO has that. Azure Lane, I think, technically has a system where different like gun types have different like ammo types. There's like normal damage, there's like high explosive, and there's armor piercing. So technically Azure Lane has that. Most of the time it doesn't really matter though. Arknights, technically Arknights does too, because there's the whole like, oh, like you have operators and Arknights who do arts damage, and arts damage is really good against enemies who have really high defense but very low arts resist, right? And then vice versa for physical damage characters, where they're good against most enemies, or certain enemies that have really high arts resist but have really low physical resist. Certainly nowhere to the degree as like FGO, for example. Genshin technically has one because there are certain elements that are good against others, right? You use fire to break ice shields. Blue Archive certainly has a rock, paper, scissors mode, where you have every character is either one of like 4 or 5 different ammo types, and each ammo type is good against their corresponding armor type. He did say he's role-playing as a hater, and true, I did forget about that. He said something about him playing devil's advocate here in this video. Problem with that for like a YouTube video is like, it's just like what happened to me. There's a very big chance that viewers will forget that this all started from like a from the the person doing the video like trying to play devil's advocate. I think it would have been better if Tsunul wasn't trying to like intentionally be like a quote-unquote hater in regards to this topic, but that is a good point. True.
But the problem of the theater mode is that you need a horizontally invested account to really engage with it. They give you trial units, but they're kinda...
You need properly leveled characters. I think that's called Endgame, I know, right? You figured it out, Kurogane. This just in, Endgame modes require Endgame investment. But me being cynical and sarcastic aside, what I want to add to this is that because Tsunul brought up the whole, horizontal and vertical investment stuff. For the first like fucking 4 years of Genshin's life cycle, it's like, yeah, the only endgame mode we had to deal with was just basically Spiral Abyss. And so people got complacent. Oh, you only need, fucking write a national and just, bring in a second team and, whatever, and you can just leave the rest of your account to fucking rot or something. If you've played enough gacha games, you will know that horizontal investment is oftentimes just as important as vertical. Like, it's not going to be enough to just rely on 2 teams and that's it. I mean, for Genshin was a big outlier in that sense. If you've been playing gacha games for long enough, you should have seen that coming. The main criticism I have with theater mode in Genshin is that Hoyo didn't release it sooner. If they had waited 2 years and then given us theater mode, I think that would have been much better, because that way it would have given all the fucking current day Woowa dick suckers, it would have thrown them a bone too. It's like, oh, here's another endgame mode that you can have. Instead, we got fucking 4 years of fucking Spiral Abyss as our only endgame mode. And so by the time they finally put out the theater mode, it caught so many Genshin players off guard. Because now they're like, wait, you're telling us to fucking start investing horizontally now after 4 years of doing nothing but vertical? Genshin is still a gacha game, and in my opinion, they were gonna do something like this eventually, so you need to prepare beforehand. It's like, newsflash everyone, horizontal investment is pretty fucking important. Oh, what's that? We have a new endgame mode that forces us to use a whole bunch of characters at once? And we can't just keep using the same fucking 2 teams over and over and over and over? Oh, well, there you go. When theater came out, everyone was flipping the fuck out. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, I'm ready, coach, put me in. Yeah, exactly. In gacha games, it truly is horizontal investment is more important than vertical. I mean, that's how it traditionally has been, yeah. What you have to understand is that old school gacha games like pumped out characters like nobody's fucking business. Take FGO for example. Every time FGO gets a fucking banner, we get like, I don't know, like 3, 4, 5 new characters at once. Not all the time, of course. Every time we get a summer banner, that's another fucking 6 or 7 new servants right fucking there. It is a different era. It is a different way of like managing gacha games, but even taking that into consideration where, newer gacha games these days focus like less on like the quantity of new gacha characters and more so on the quality. Even still, horizontal investment is still important. I haven't played Genshin in years, so you're a bit lost on Endgame. Endgame for a Genshin can be summed up with do you have Natlin characters? Do you have Malwika? Do you have Sitlali? But a lot of the older teams still work pretty well. Like Raiden National is still kicking ass, obviously. We did get a new Fontaine character named Escoffier, and she was able to revive Super Freeze teams for what that's worth. So that way Super Freeze teams can actually start doing some damage too. They can keep bitching about, oh, why are gachas like this? And they'll forever be stuck with their brains on backwards, wondering why the fuck gachas are the way they are. You don't know how free-to-play players don't consider investing in their entire roster when they don't even have that many characters to work with. Are they just spending weeks throwing their stamina into gear grind? Yeah, Zodan. Unironically, I think that's what a lot of people do. Because remember, with streamers and a lot of their content, whenever they play like any of the big 4 gachas, being nothing but just them grinding artifacts and shit, right? Because they're trying to chase like the perfect artifact substats or like, gear substats so they can post that shit onto Twitter or something and have their Twitter clip go viral.
The problem is that the game is putting very arbitrary checks in gameplay that makes you want or need to gamble more.
Before Tsunul goes on further than that, maybe he might explain this himself, but before he does, and never forget, chat, gacha games are intended to be casual as fuck. The reason why a lot of gacha games out there have these straight up rock paper scissors like damage systems is because it hella simplifies gameplay. A lot of the time, the reason why gacha games have such simple gameplay is because they're casual. They're trying to go for a big audience. One of the ways they dumb down the gameplay is to really focus everything on the characters, so that the characters basically do everything. People are gonna roll for the characters regardless, so people expect that the characters themselves are very strong. Like that's basically the long and short of it. I'm not trying to make an excuse for gacha games. I wish that gacha games could be more nuanced than that, but remember, they're gacha games at the end of the day, and gacha games are fucking hella casual. Like, this is how gacha games have always been designed. Like it or hate it, this is what we gotta fucking deal with. Like, I'm not gonna tell people not to complain about it, but gacha games ain't gonna fucking change that. Like, if you want to look for gacha games that don't do that shit, then I mean, hey, Arknights is one of them. Technically, Zenless Zone Zero too, just to a lesser extent, I think. To slow power creep, they're using mechanics like Night Soul and Luocha. Not Luocha, Lunar Charged. You'd have to elaborate on that, because just that statement on its own, I'm not sure how much I agree with that. The way I see it, additional mechanics just means that Hoyo has an excuse to put in more characters that take advantage of those extra mechanics that you have to learn, or in the case of Mawika, and like Skirk, I think it was, they can simply just ignore that mechanic altogether. Gambling is a part of the fun, to be fair, but every unit shouldn't be a fucking must pull. Yeah, Star Rail. Yeah, definitely agree. Oh, and it also reminded me of something I wanted to mention earlier. I think it was more towards like the middle of the video somewhere, where Tsunul was complaining about how like once you have all the top tier characters, you just blast everyone to fucking hell and high water. When he was talking about that, I do want to make one more thing clear. If you're the type of gacha player who doesn't really enjoy playing like the overtly busted characters, guess what, man? The game doesn't have a gun to your head. If using the top tiers is boring to you, don't use them. The game doesn't have a requirement for you to fucking pull all the top tiers in the game and then clear endgame with them, right? You can clear endgame with any character you want. And even if you do care about getting 3 stars in all the game modes, even if you don't have the top tier options, you should have enough options in the game itself to at least like work your way towards it. It's gonna take much longer, but hey, as long as you can do it, as long as it's just a matter of time and not a matter of like, oh, do you have this character or not? If you don't, then you're fucked, and there's literally nothing you can do. As long as it doesn't get to that point, then yeah. What's the big fucking deal? So many players, and I would say Tsunul himself here too. I would say that a lot of gacha players out there, especially new age gacha players, have a pretty unhealthy obsession with, oh, this is meta, so I have to run them, and like they don't consider investing it to anybody else, whether it's because they think it's a waste of time and resources, or they think that oh you should only use meta characters. Remember, it is always your choice, right? If you don't have fun playing a gacha endgame because you feel like, oh, like the game just forces me to fucking run top tiers all day and I don't really like that, then don't fucking play. People will still anyway because, primo gems. How about you make that shit interesting for yourself then? If you don't want to just clear shit all the time in like less than 30 seconds, come up with your own challenges. Make that shit interesting on your own. Put some limits on yourself and say like, oh, I can't use Riot and National here. So you have to think about, oh, what other kind of team should I come up with? I'm really surprised that people haven't just taken a step back and be like, huh, I'm not actually having that much fun anymore with this gacha game. But maybe, what if I use other characters that I don't usually run? I wonder what'll happen then. I wonder, how fun that would be. And yes, I understand that leveling characters, especially in any one of the big 4 gachas, can take quite a while. It's painstaking. That's for sure, and I don't want to like detract from that. But then in that case, then have you fucking considered using somebody else for a fucking change? Has that never crossed your mind? I mean, Tsunul himself has shown himself playing what, FGO at some point, right? At the beginning of the video somewhere. like around right here, he should know that there are some maniacs out there who fucking run solos, right? Fuck a full team. Fucking solo that bitch with coup. I guess I can give like new age gacha players a pass because again, a lot of new age players started playing gacha games with Genshin, which is why I think it's important for like gacha veterans like me to go out there and make videos educating people on, you know, teaching people about how gacha games used to be. This is what they were like, and this is how different they are these days. Show the youngins the ropes. You do know some whales, they're grinding Stygian onslaught like crazy, not for the rewards. They do suck, but it's simply for the challenge. You know, it's the whole like, you know, finally a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary, or wherever that fucking meme comes from. Restrict your fucking lineup. Change your gear, if you can. That is. Go out of your way to make the gameplay interesting instead of just sitting on your ass all day bitching about how, oh, you know, Hoya won't give us more endgame content. How would you fucking make your own endgame content then?
Videos about shortcomings in gameplay of gacha games, and Genshin has a lot of shortcomings because of it being a gacha. Like tying new systems or cool shit to something only recent characters you have to swipe for can do. Like how Natalie characters fix the exploration being ass by having their own vehicles they can summon that other characters can't. As it expands, Genshin...
Tsunul can't be serious about that, right? Is Tsunul another one of those exploration power creep retards? I genuinely hope he isn't one of those people, but we'll move on from that.
But shifting gears, let's instead talk about a game that's done the opposite of that. Has had it...
Before he goes into the next section, the only thing I want to add to that, gacha games are designed to be played every day, right? It's the reason why most gacha games have dailies, right? And the reason why they do that is because it's for the money. The more often you play a gacha game, the more justified you can, the more you can justify to yourself, eventually, you know, cracking and popping your free-to-play cherry. Even then, you still can't expect to get every single fucking character. I wish it weren't that way. I hope that, you know, it's part of the reason why I keep playing gacha games, because I want to observe like how gacha games evolve over time, so I can bear witness to that. And eventually gacha games will get to a point where they're almost indistinguishable from normal games. Well, maybe that's a bit too far. The closer that gacha games can get to being normal games, as in like, you know, there's not nearly as much FOMO as there are in gacha games these days, right? I would love for gacha games to be more like normal games where like, yeah, you should be able to use whoever you want and not have to worry about, oh my god, I'm not, you know, I'm missing out on so much damage, right? I'm not running meta or some shit like that. I wish that eventually gacha games can get to the point where as long as you play every day, right, as long as you grind, the gacha game in question rewards you with enough gems to roll every single character in the game. Like, I yearn for the day that we can see that turn into a reality, or I yearn for the day when a gacha game comes out where it really does do that. But until then, this is what we have to work with, you know? None of us here is going to be able to change that fact. So work with what you got. In case, you know, what you have right now is not enough to clear like some sort of endgame mode or whatever, well, let that be a motivating factor for you. Take a look at your gacha's upcoming schedule, or like, you know, take a look at a few leaks if you need to here and there, right? To get an idea of, you know, oh, this character's gonna come out soon, maybe I can consider rolling for them. Maybe they'll help my account.
The system is perfect. After all, some fights and combat events aren't really challenging, so it can make the combat feel very samey when you're not getting pushed. And the team building is pretty lackluster, but it does have the strength of making you, the player, interact with the gameplay. And if the gacha is known for their action, it does that the best. But those are some of the problems being a gacha.
Tsunul was talking about the Wuwa gameplay in a good way, right? I wasn't misinterpreting that. He even said it himself, like toward like level 7 or level 8 hologram attack hologram fights. They touch your DPS character once, not named Cartathia, and they just kind of like explode. That's not really interaction to me. Technically, you could call that interaction, but it's very trashy interaction to me. Shush rat. Where's the rat? Oh, there he is. To nobody's surprise, he has a Wuthering Waves name. Alright. Get your ass back to St. Tontus' chat, retard. Go suck his dick some more. Also, comparing Final Fantasy XIV and MMO to a gacha game is kind of a monka take. If we're talking about gameplay, then yeah. Most gacha games are designed to be hella casual.
The player interact with the gameplay. And if the gacha is known for their action, it does that the best. Are these problems world-ending? Not really. The games are still fun to play.
It's ironic because I think FGO has the best gameplay out of all the games. Not trying to be like elitist about it, but personally, I think that FGO's gameplay is by far the most interesting. To be fair, FGO doesn't teach jack shit about its own gameplay, but you know, if you take the time to learn it, then I think it becomes a different story.
I want to say some of them are avoidable, others were primarily done by greed, and some are inevitable. But it's part of the reason why gachas ain't known for their gameplay compared to other genres. Instead, they're known for the speedrun categories of how fast you can max out a credit card.
Okay, since I've already been reacting to this for quite a while, let me wrap this up by saying this. After listening to this video, again, I wanna emphasize that I do understand that I think at the beginning of the video, Tsunul mentioned that he was intentionally trying to be this video's his own video's hater. I think I have to agree with that one guy in my YouTube chat who said that this dude Tsunul reminds him a lot of Toboro and the way they both talk about games. Tsunul does come off as somebody who's looking at gacha games and expecting like normal games out of them. Juicy video overall. Yeah, I get the same. I get a very similar vibe listening to this as I did from Toboro's video, just without the sense that Tsunul is a fucking elitist like Toboro is. Like, Toboro can go fuck himself with his elitism. Here, Tsunul is he's pretty chill about it. So he at least does give credit where credit is due. Not nearly as fucking one-sided as that Toboro fucking idiot. They expect more out of Genshin Impact and these other bigger games, which, to be fair, they should. We should expect more out of gacha game gameplay. Developers need to strike a balance between what they want to do for their game and like how to monetize their game properly, but also take player feedback into account where they come up with like a really fun gameplay system that, you know, challenges the player. An ideal gacha should be easy to pick up, right? Very casual friendly, easy to pick up and play, right? Most of the game's content, gameplay, story, whatever, doesn't demand that much. I think that it should have a casual story mode, but also it should have a much more in-depth like side modes or endgame modes. And, you know, while we're on this topic, you know, the endgame modes aren't just, you know, fucking circle jerk DPS checks. What about a defensive mode or like a survival mode? The video was quite good. I mean, I don't think Tsunul said anything that I would have like egregiously disagreed with. I just think there were some points that I either wanted to clarify or just some more footnotes that I wanted to add on my own just to make things more clear.